In a world where losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option, we present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
Hey YouTubers, make sure you click subscribe below if you like what you hear. Today we're going to be talking about Show Your Committees. Today we're breaking down the Jets, the Patriots, and the Green Bay Packers. So sit back, crack a cold one, and enjoy.
In a world where losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option, we present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
Yannick, anybody want to take a guess on this? Laurel?
Hey, show me your committees.
Show me your committees.
What?
Indianapolis,
What?
Philadelphia Eagles,
What?
Detroit Lions.
What?
I'm more interested in Tavon Austin than I am in Noah Brown.
Yes.
I'm more interested in Tavon Austin than I am in Terrence Williams.
Yes.
Cole Beasley's where I draw the line.
Alright.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Today is committee day. We're going to want you to show us your committees. New England,
One at a time.
New
Committee
York,
at a time?
New York, New Jersey,
Yes.
and
Green Bay Packers.
yes, very much a dilemma. So yes, show us those committees. Let us see what you're working with. We want to feel around and find out what's the best option.
What's your cup size? Or
Whoa, take it easy.
Sorry, that was James. Measurables? I mean, when you see committees, don't you want to see them one at a time?
Just show us what you're working with.
I like to see one at a time.
We're
When
going to be
somebody,
talking about their measurables.
somebody shows me the whole backfield all in one picture, it's awkward.
It's too much to handle.
Yeah,
It's too
I
much.
like it one running back at a time, please.
Just a little slip. Or the commit.
Committee
to the slip.
Committee slip.
All right. So we're going to start with the Jets. But first, I would like to introduce my friends, my cohorts, my partners in crime, Jay up to my left,
What's up, guys?
and his brother Jay up to my right. I mean, sorry, James up. It's Jay and Jay.
We're both Jay.
Sup, guys?
And I'm Travis Sutton. Woo woo.
No, sup, guys?
Oh, sup, guys?
All right. We're off the rails.
All right, let's do it.
This is the last episode we're recording of the week. That's why we're a shot out of a cannon. So let's go.
Committee time.
Yeah.
New York Jets. What running back do you want to own? They got the newly acquired Isaiah Crowell, Bilal Powell, who's everybody's been trying to make happen, more than you tried to make James Starks happen.
Yes.
Elijah McGuire,
Mm-hmm.
that guy that used to go in the first round, Thomas Rawls,
Yeah.
and rookie Trenton Cannon.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's start with Isaiah Crowell, the guy who,
Start.
by all accounts, should be the number one, should be the main guy.
What? Real quick,
To me,
have you?
anyways.
Yes, me as well. Like, I haven't heard any positive or negative, but anything at all in general about Isaiah Crowell. And he had a really good season last year with the Cleveland Browns, and the Browns were just an average team. But last season, he had 850 yards. He averaged over 4 yards a carry. He had 28 catches on 42 targets. You step into this role with the Jets, and they lose Matt Forte. I don't see how he doesn't. Like, why is he not being talked about? He's not being talked about as RB1, which, okay, that's understandable, but he's not even talked about as, like, the RB2. Like, he's just not... I mean, I think he has a lot of fantasy relevance here,
It's 'cause-
but everyone's trying to pump up the other two guys. Why?
People always remember what happened last, and you said he had a good year, but I think he had a down year, and I think that if you drafted Isaiah Crowell last year, then you got burned by him.
Where he was going, because obviously everyone, like myself, I picked Cleveland to win the division last season. They went 0-16. I don't think many teams saw that coming, but if you're telling me that Crowell played all 16 games, he rushed for 850 yards, and his touchdowns to me was the kicker. He only had 2. That's with receiving and rushing. So 2 touchdowns for your starting running back, which hopefully for you, he was your RB2. If he was your RB1, you were screwed. If he was your RB2, it's not the worst, but 2 touchdowns, you obviously want a little bit more production out of your running back.
But him, even at your RB2, there was weeks where he did nothing for you at all. And that's what I think everyone remembers. The people that are upset with Crowell, the ones that literally got burned by him last year because they took him as their running back 2. and he just didn't produce like a running back too.
But that's where you get the advantage of the guys that got burned by him. If you're not one of those guys, like myself, I didn't own him in any league, so I'm okay with the assumption that Crowell could be my if he's my third running back on any dynasty team or redraft, I'm very happy with that because he's not going to play every single week. But he's actually going in redrafts right now in the 8th round, number 89 overall in the 8th round. So at that point, he's going to be your RB3. So value-wise, where he's going, I love it. I mean, what do you think about Crowell?
I think they're definitely going to give him first crack at it, and I think he should be the starting running back there. He just signed a 3-year deal. So you know they're going to be paying him, and I think he's going to be good. I don't think he's going to be great. I still don't think he's going to be a running back 1. I think he's going to be just good. I think he's going to not get a lot of the receptions. But where I kind of draw the line is who's going to get the third down? Like, I think Crowell's going to get first and second down easily, and he'll get a couple of receptions sprinkled in. But Powell and McGuire, I'm more leaning towards the Elijah McGuire and going with the younger guy that they want to put in that third down back. Powell is somebody that is on the last year of his contract, and he's owed $4 million. If they cut him,
Cut candidate.
then
For who?
if
Powell?
they cut Powell, they save $4 million in cap space, and then it all depends on in my opinion, on how Thomas Rawls does in camp.
That's my kicker right there. You said it is Thomas Rawls last season played 12 games. Okay, he averaged 2.7 yards a carry. He had almost 60 attempts, 2.7 yards. He didn't do anything. He had no touchdowns last season, and he played 12 games. And Seattle's backfield wasn't like they had a bell cow running back that was just like, oh, there's no really for him to fit in. Like, it wasn't like he was hurt all season either. He had 12 games that he played. He had 58 rushing attempts for 150 yards. Like, that's nothing. Like,
But you look at it from a
for me, he's the one that doesn't make the team.
But if you look at it from a business standpoint for the Jets, if they can save $4 million in cap space by letting Powell go, and he's 29 years old, he's about to turn 30, and he's a free agent next year anyway. So they cut him if Rawls can produce anything. Now Rawls is just used as a depth guy.
So the guy that got the most carries last season was Powell. He had 178 carries, which was 70 more than anybody else on the entire team. He averaged 4.3 yards a carry, 5 touchdowns. He also had 23 catches. Like, if you look at his stat line, he did very well for them last season as the number 2 guy.
The year before too, for whatever reason,
So
the
why-
Jets don't like him because he was the guy that was going to take over, and instead they bring in Matt Forte, and then Matt Forte takes the starting job. Now you got this year, and it's like, oh, it's going to be
Did
Powell
Matt
and
Forte
McGuire.
take the starting job?
Then they bring in Crowell.
Wait, last season Forte only had 103 attempts. Powell had 178.
But Forte got hurt.
Right, but
They brought Forte in to be the starter.
Forte was averaging 3.7 yards, and you have Powell was averaging 4.3. Like, to me, it's going to be Crowell as the starting guy on first and second down. Powell's going to be the third down guy, and I think that even though everyone's trying to make Elijah McGuire happen, for right now, for this particular season, I think he's an odd man out. And Thomas Rawls, to me, might not even make the team.
He may not. I'm saying that if he has to ball out in camp, because if he doesn't, then he's going to be cut. But if you look at it from a business standpoint, you're paying Crowell, which you're not a lot.
You love that business.
And you got Elijah McGuire who's still on his rookie contract, and then Thomas Rawls is making nothing, and then Trenton Cannon is just there for depth, and he's on a rookie contract. So
How's this shake down, Scoop Senior? Tell us. You're the deciding factor.
Yeah, Crowell's going to be the guy. I think it's a battle between Powell and McGuire. If McGuire can kind of show out a little bit in training camp and preseason even, yeah, I do think Powell's expendable. I think he could be expendable. I think he just got the workload he got because Forte got hurt. He didn't catch a ton of passes. Like, you think of him as like a good pass catcher. He only had like 23 catches last year. It's not like he was like uber utilized in the passing game. He is getting older. I think they know what they have in Powell. So, you bring in Crowell, who's younger, who by all accounts had a down year on a bad team. But his down year wasn't that bad. Like, being on a team, he had like 800 yards rushing. Or like,
Yeah, 850.
It's the touchdowns that really held him back a little bit.
For sure.
So I think he could be the man. I think he could sneak into, top 15.
I agree, but no one's talking about it. Everyone, like, if you said Isaiah Crowell, the first thing that comes to mind in most people's mind is like, I have no interest in him. Like what could you get if you own Isaiah Crowell right now in a dynasty league? What's the max, or what are you looking to get if you were trying to trade Crowell?
you can't. It's hard to deal Crowell right now because he's at an all-time low.
But
Like,
how? Why is he a low? Why is he a low though? He
because
comes from Cleveland.
everyone
Going to the
thought
Jets. Who the Jets running backs here
You went
are
from
not
one
great.
bad team to another bad team.
everyone
Are the Jets
thought
that bad though?
the breakout was
They're not a great
coming
team,
last
no.
year.
I disagree. I don't think the Jets are that bad. Like, the receiving core did very well last season. Now you add Terrell Pryor, who might not do anything, but he doesn't have to. You have a new one that's coming back. Now you have Crowell, you have Powell, you have McGuire. Like, there are options there. Then you go and you draft Sam Darnold, who's supposed to be a decent quarterback coming out of college. I just think that and you have Bridgewater, and you have, like, there's different options now. Whereas last season, you saw the roster and you're like, oh my God, they're barely going to win maybe 3 or 4 games. And then they rattled off a couple of wins. You're like, oh, this team's not that bad. Curse was up there. Robbie Anderson had a good season. Like, there's guys that can produce, but they're not sexy names. And that's
the thing. And do you really believe that they can reproduce that production?
Yes.
Like, but does the average, the community at large in the fantasy realm believe that? There's no sexy name, like you said.
But that's what I
There's
love.
no star power.
The fantasy community doesn't believe in it, which means that any one of these guys that we just said, all those 5, 6, 7, 8 names, these guys are going so late in drafts, in redraft, in dynasty, and whatever. There isn't a Jets player at any position that's going in the top 20 probably at that position. So it's like these guys that we're talking about, yes, the names aren't sexy and they're not going to ever be wide receiver 1s or running back 1s most likely, but the value of where they're going in drafts is like, it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. You have Bilal Powell's going in the 13th round right now. If you took his numbers from last season and just said, you know what, that's your ceiling, that's what you're going to get, and you get this guy in the 13th round, by that point, he's like your 4th, 5th, maybe even 6th running back at that time. Isaiah Crowell's going in the 8th round. In the redraft league, Elijah McGuire is not even being drafted. We did the top 80 running backs, and he's not even being drafted.
Right.
Okay, if you want to talk dynasty, you have Bilal Powell's going as the 68th running back off the board. 68 for Powell. Isaiah Crowell is 39th. He's a starting running back in the league. He's going 39. So you have 32 teams. You say that not only the 30, every single starter on every single team is better than him, but another 7 guys that are second string guys are better than Isaiah Crowell. I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, I like Isaiah Crowell.
It's crazy. It's getting out of control. It's the opposite of the hype train.
Last year I liked him as well, and he didn't prove you wrong for kind of believing in him. Did it show up necessarily how everybody was hoping and expecting? No, of course not. But
he went very high.
Nothing on that team did.
He went very high. He went in some leagues in the very early second round of redrafts.
But that's why everyone was thinking the breakout was coming last year because he had a good year the year before, and they're like, this is his year. He's gonna have a breakout. And then he didn't have a breakout. He basically duplicated the year before, but with less touchdowns. And that's what all anybody remembers is that the last time he went out there and played.
He's kind of the Marvin Jones of running backs.
Yes.
Because you've seen him be good, and you're like, oh, yes, great, he's going to be awesome. And then all of a sudden he kind of falls off the map, and now everybody hates him because you believed, and then he burned you.
How old is he? 20 what?
5, 6?
Yeah, I mean, like, he's like... He's got his whole damn career ahead of him. 25 years old.
25 years old.
I don't know. If a 25-year-old running back is running for 850 yards and 28 catches for another almost 200 yards, the only thing that was missing was touchdowns. And we said ourselves that touchdowns are fluky. And with the Cleveland Browns, they were down every single game. So that could explain it. But if the Jets win like 6 or 7 games and he gets a couple of goal line touchdowns, he's the biggest back that's there. He's going to get the goal line, right?
But honestly, do you see them being in a much different position than the Browns were? Granted, the Browns didn't win a game.
No.
But they're probably going to be in game scripts that are probably similar.
I guess my biggest thing here is that you lose Forte, who had 45, even though he got hurt, he had 45 targets in the passing game. He also had 100 attempts. So for me, I think Crowell takes the Powell role, which is about 180 attempts, and he gets his 50 targets roughly, which is what he had in Cleveland last season. So Crowell is going to be the number one.
Forte. I think Crowell gets over 200 carries.
Really?
I do. I think he's going to...
Wait, Crowell or Powell?
Crowell.
Yes, right. So Crowell last season had 206 attempts. I think he stays about the same. He gets 200. Powell takes a little bit of a bump, and he gets like maybe 120, 130. And Elijah McGuire, to me, is an odd man out. I just don't see where he fits in. He'll get his 80 touches or 100 touches, and he's going to have to prove himself. The other 2 guys, to me, have cemented their role. As long as they don't cut them and they make the roster, I think that they fit in just like that. Crowell 1, Powell 2, and McGuire 3.
Crowell is 5'11", 225 pounds, but if you look at Powell and Elijah McGuire, they're almost the same.
Mm-hmm.
They're both 5'10". Powell weighs 204 pounds. McGuire weighs 214.
Right.
So
who's known as a bruiser back out of those?
But
three,
the difference
is Crowell.
is that Powell's 29 and McGuire's 24. So that's why we're talking about. He could be one of those guys as a camp casualty.
Okay.
Because they're going to save $4 million. and they have Elijah McGuire, who's basically a clone of Powell, but he can catch better.
I don't know. Man.
Really?
I think that 10 pounds is huge.
Yeah.
I think that 10 pounds is a big deal.
I think he can catch better than Powell too.
Yeah.
Who can?
McGuire.
I probably agree with that. But as far as them being the same necessarily, I don't necessarily. I think Powell is more close to competing with Crowell, and I don't think he has a spot to really, he has a chance to really compete with him. And like you said, I think the age is going to come into a factor. The amount they owe him is going to come into a factor. So I think that's going to hurt his chances at winning the unless Elijah McGuire just falls on his face.
It's just hard to pay a guy that's about to turn $34 million when you have other guys that are capable on the team.
Yeah.
If he's the only guy, it's one thing. But when you have other guys that are capable,
If they do get rid of him, that is some depth that they could use.
Right,
And they don't have a lot of depth unless that rookie starts to show up.
or Rawls has a good camp. That's what it all depends on.
Man.
Rawls could either get cut, or you could have a decent camp and they use him for depth.
That's true, man. You never know. Like, have we
You don't know.
That's why it's hard for me to buy into some guys that flash at the end of the season because we've seen it
What's
happen
the
with
truth?
some guys.
Right.
It's like I just can't do it. I can't do it.
All right.
I won't do it.
Anything else you guys want to add to the Jets?
No.
All
I
right.
think we all agree.
Who's next? Patriots?
Patriots.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Right. What we got here? Rex Burkhead, Sony Michel, James White.
Gillisley?
Yeah, Gillisley, Brandon Bolden.
Jeremy Hill?
Oh boy. Jeremy Hill.
That's about it. I think they brought another rookie that was not drafted. He was an undrafted free agent. Don't have his name written down, but he's not going to make any waves. He's going to have to work on. He's going to have to work on special teams, anyways. Which is what Brandon Bolden is. Like you put Brandon Bolden on that as a running back on the depth chart, but really he's just there for special teams. He's not there for anything else. It really boils down to Michelle, Burkhead, White, Gillisley, and Hill, which I think that Gillisley and Hill would be used in the same type of game plan. So one of them, or even both, might not make it. The more I was kind of digging around on this, the only for sure things for me are Michelle, Burkhead, and White. Gillisley and Hill just aren't.
Last season, they lost Deion Lewis, okay, and he left. They bring in Sony Michel and Jeremy Hill. But Deion Lewis led all running backs last season with 180 attempts. He ran for almost just under 900 yards, and he averaged 5 yards a carry. He had 6 touchdowns running, but he also had 32 catches for another 250 and 3 touchdowns. So on the season, he had 9 touchdowns and yards from scrimmage just over 1,100 yards. So that's now up for grabs for me. And who's going to fill that role? So you have all those 32 targets, 182 attempts. To me, or 180 attempts, I'm sorry. Like, who's that going to go to? Because they didn't use Burkhead and White at all. Combined, they had 100 attempts running. To
me, I think Burkhead goes up a little.
Okay.
And then the rest of that goes to Sony Michel.
Well, you said, so White's a pass catcher, like Travis just said.
Right.
He had 72 targets last season, okay? 72 targets last year. What they did was they used him as the receiving back number 1. But the other 2 guys that got catches that were involved in the passing game had exactly 36 each, which is exactly, if you combine them, 72 catches. So Burkhead and Lewis had 72 to combine. White had 72 by himself. So it's weird how they used it. Like, it's almost like a systematic. I was weird when I started crunching the numbers of like who's what and who got what and this, that, and this. It was weird that how it was split exactly down the middle. 72 targets for this guy. The 2 guys behind him exactly 36 apiece, which equals exactly 72 targets. So how are those going to get split up?
Probably had it all mapped out like that.
I know, it was weird.
He's like, no, you're not giving Burkhead anymore. He's already at 36. He's good.
But I mean, it's just to me, this is the backfield that's the most interesting because they do put up a lot of points. They do run a ton of plays. Brady last season threw the ball 587 times, and 149 of those targets were to running backs. Almost 150 targets. Absurd. That's an absurd amount to go to your running backs.
Well,
how are those?
I mean, that's
it is, dude. 150. Like the only other team that was even close to that I saw as I was scanning down was like Detroit, and Detroit is known for not running the ball. I mean, I didn't look deep into it, so don't take my word on that. I'm just saying.
To me, Gillisley is the odd man out because they're owed him $2.4 million if he plays this year. He's a free agent in 2019. So if they cut him, they save that cap space, and they brought in Jeremy Hill for a little bit cheaper, which was $1.5 million. Is what they actually. It's a $1 million contract with a $500,000 roster bonus. So if he makes the roster, he's owed $1.5 million. He's a free agent. They only brought him in for 1 year. White is assigned on a 4-year deal.
But who's getting?
Because, I mean, Burkhead signed for a 3-year deal, and Michelle's a rookie. So those are the 3 main guys.
But Jay, you have 180 carries from Deion Lewis that aren't there
Right.
anymore. 180 attempts. Like that's a huge workload. You're telling me that Burkhead, White, and Michelle are going to split those. I would think that Michelle's going to get the majority of those.
Not
right?
White so much. It's going to be mostly
Right.
Michelle. So you say 180 carries, right?
Right.
I could easily see them giving Michelle 130 to 140 of those, and then the rest go to Burkhead. Because if you don't remember, Burkhead was hurt for a few games last year. He kind of got behind the 8 ball, and when you get injured and stuff like that, like Belichick doesn't just rush you back. He kind of eases you back in slowly. So if these guys all stay healthy, I think Michelle's the one that leads in carries, and Burkhead's second in carries. And he's used as like a gadget guy. Like he's all over the place. They put him in the slot sometimes.
Who's that?
Rex
Burkhead.
Burkhead.
Well, James White only had 20 less carries than Burkhead. It wasn't like Burkhead was.
Yeah, but Gillislee had 104.
Right.
So
I think he's gone.
Well, for sure. I think
okay, so
we all
that's-
agree
then that's
Gillislee's
200
out.
Then that's 200.
I know.
Carries.
Well,
So-
yeah, if Gillislee's gone and Deion Lewis obviously moved on, that's 280 carries that are up for grabs. So is Sony Michel, like, is he becoming my favorite rookie? Because like everyone's like, oh, he's in the backfield. It's like a kind of a mess. If they just use James White in the passing game like they've been using, Gillislee leaves. Gillislee only had 1 target for 1 catch, so that's nothing about the passing game. But if it's just Michelle, Burkhead, and White's a passing back, and it's Michelle and Burkhead, you're telling me Sony Michel can't beat out Rex Burkhead for the bulk load of those carries?
When he's got first round pedigree.
That's what I'm saying. He gets 180, and Burkhead gets like 120.
Okay, but
I'm fine with that.
what did Gillislee's 104 carries translate fantasy-wise?
He had 380 yards, but he only averaged 3.7 yards a carry. He had no touchdowns.
No, fantasy-wise. How was Gillislee for you?
How was he? You couldn't rely. He was great the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Never heard from him
after
again.
game 2, nothing.
Exactly. So I think it's still the Patriots, and it's still, regardless of if a guy comes in and he gets 100 carries, you never know if that's even going to be fantasy relevant because you never know when to play him.
Mhm.
You never know if it's really going to pan out. It could be like, okay, boom, boom, I got 3 touchdowns in this one game. I got a little bit of work in this one game, but for the rest of the season, it's like whatever. But by the end of the season, I got over 100 carries, but it didn't really.
It
do
didn't
anything
amount
for
to
me.
anything. So which one of these guys is a fantasy own? You have to choose
Sony Michel.
one.
The guy
Okay.
for me is Sony Michel too.
Okay, so me too. But now if you go and you're in a redraft league and it's time to draft, okay, and you're on the clock. Sony Michel is going in the 4th
It
round.
will go too high for me. To
That
take
is
in the redraft.
absurd. So we can all agree that none of us are going to be owning Sony Michel, in any redraft leagues, right?
This is what happened with Kareem Hunt last year. Remember, like before Spencer Ware got hurt, you weren't seeing Kareem Hunt anywhere. But as soon as Spencer Ware got hurt, Kareem Hunt was going like in the 4th round. Even though they had Sharkhandrick West there, he was in a draft that we were in, where someone took him on the turn of the 3rd round.
How's that? Okay. How's that relevant to this?
Because it's going to be the same thing. I think Michelle is going to go in the 4th round in every draft we're in, which means that we may not own him.
He's going 4-11, which could be the 5th if he slides a little bit. But in Dynasty, he's going as a 19th running back taken. So 19th running back, 43rd overall, pretty much in the same spot, 4th round.
So they see him as an RB2.
So I mean that comparison.
And do you see that though?
Like I understand the comparison, but everybody at home is going to hear that and think, well, shoot, Kareem Hunt was the NFL rushing leader and whatever. Like, do you see any kind of comparison in production-wise?
No, because he was the only guy there in Kansas City, whereas Patriots, they have
It's just the fact that he's a rookie.
the hype.
That hype is not necessarily hype. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be decent. But
Well, that's what I was.
Depend on him for fantasy is another story.
That's what I was trying to talk about. Is that the hype? The hype wasn't there with Kareem Hunt before Ware got hurt, and then as soon as Ware got hurt, he skyrocketed and went through the roof. And every draft we did after that, Kareem Hunt was being taken in the 3rd round, 4th round, same as like Sony Michel is right now. That's the only comparison I was saying is that the hype just kind of got out of control.
For me, for where they're going value-wise and drafts, to me, the guy to own is James White. James White is going 148th overall in redraft, 12-12. Literally 13th round you're talking basically for James White. And the guy, last season, James White, like we just said, had 72 targets. He had 56 catches last season. And I don't see that really going anywhere because Deion Lewis is gone. So even if they give Michel some of those receptions and targets, like he's still going to get his 60 catches or around 60. If he can get even 45 catches, going in the 13th round is a steal for me for James White. The other guy to talk about was Rex Burkhead. He's going in the 8th round. So it's literally 4 rounds apart. Michelle in the 4th, Burkhead in the 8th, White in the 12th. To me, those 3 guys, if I had to put my stock into it, I'll take a 12th round, almost 13th round flyer on James White in a redraft league. That's basically your last position player before you go and you take your kicker and defense, and then you can get 56 catches out of that guy. Sign me up.
Not me. I would rather
Sign me up.
I'd rather pay up for Sony Michel
What?
than either of those 2 guys.
All right, so Sony Michel in that case could be your RB2. You're okay rolling him out every single week?
I would rather put my chips on that than James White or Rex Burkhead.
Jay, you feel the same way? You're able, like, let's say your first running back is Jordan Howard or Devontae Freeman, somebody like that. It's not just a complete stud, but he's just a guy, top guy, and then you add Sony Michel.
See, to me, it would be all about roster construction. Because if I have, like, say, Todd Gurley, if I get the top 3 pick and I get Todd Gurley and Sony Michel's my number 2, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind Michel being my number 2 if I had somebody like Todd Gurley. But when you put it like that and you have, like, Devontae Freeman and then Sony Michel's your number 2, I better have really, really good receivers. Or else I'm not feeling too good about that.
Yeah, Brown.
James.
You have Antonio Brown and Devontae Adams.
Okay, Antonio Brown, Devontae Adams, and then Devontae Freeman and
Jordan
Sony Michel.
Howard or something. Yeah.
I like that.
Let's build our perfect roster.
To me,
The
James White, though.
The point to me is, if you do take him there, you could probably get a decent insurance policy as far as a veteran a couple rounds later. Right. If something doesn't
more
work
consistent.
out with Sony Michel, then you might be okay. But I wouldn't want to have to play Burkhead or White. I wouldn't want to have that.
And I wouldn't want to have to play Sony Michel.
To me, White's ceiling though is like a flex start.
Yeah.
Like if he has a good game, you get a flex.
Sony Michel comes out and fumbles a couple of times.
I
Like,
hate,
you know
I
what I'm
hate
saying?
that narrative though.
It's only with the Patriots you can use that.
I hate that narrative.
Patriots and Saints. In a dynasty league, real quick before we
If
move
he
on.
was like a 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick, I would maybe buy into that. But he's
a
first
4th.
pick.
He's
he's a first round
rookie. You mean rookie?
Yeah, exactly. So they're gonna.
Yeah, because Ben Jarvis Green Ellis had a huge career for them. Wasn't it him that was taken? No, not Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. Who was it?
Lawrence Maroney.
Lawrence Maroney, who was taken in the 1st round. He had a huge career.
Nobody was productive for you for a little stretch.
4 weeks, yes. A dynasty league. You have Sony Michel.
There it is, and that was not planned.
So yeah, Sony Michel
Ugh,
in a dynasty, like I said, he's going number 19. You mean to tell me that Burkhead is next? So Michel's 19th overall running back taken. Burkhead 45th. There's no way you're telling me that there's 26 running backs in between Sony Michel's production and Burkhead's production. Because Burkhead does everything, like Jay said. He does get catches. He does get rushing attempts. He does sometimes get the goal line touches. And, like, you're telling me at number 45 overall, there's 44 running backs that are going to produce more than Rex Burkhead?
What if Burkhead is the guy that kind of takes
No.
Edelman's replacement instead of Jordan Matthews, like everyone thinks, and Burkhead's the guy that kind of lands in the slot a little bit? What if he's the one that kind of gets a little bit of that work?
Okay.
There's good value with
how
those
long-
guys.
That's what I'm saying. I agree.
There's a point where he could be a good value, but what return are you really going to get though? Like that ceiling is very
flex-
The
you have
ceiling
a flex-
is very capped.
a flex
the ceiling
option.
with Sony Michel isn't.
Yet, but I'm saying you have a
We've
flex
seen
guy in
how many
Burkhead.
years of Burkhead.
You have a flex.
He didn't happen in Cincinnati. He hasn't really happened in New England. Like everybody.
He hasn't happened in New England. I mean, there's 8 guys that were there, and last season he did very well.
Very well. He had 264 yards rushing, and what?
30 catches.
254 yards receiving. Big deal.
Really?
Like, what is he
And
ever making your lineup?
Yeah,
Like,
as a
really?
flex. Yeah, he had 8 touchdowns on the year.
Okay, as a flex, he had 8 touchdowns on the year.
Yep.
Okay.
That's 1 every other week. That's pretty good for a flex starter. Like, we're talking flex. We're talking
It's one
Deshaun
is that
Jackson's.
handout?
We're
He
talking.
did a couple in 1 week, whatever. Gillisley had 5 touchdowns on the season, but they all came in almost like one game. Like,
Okay.
it is the Patriots, and we know that. We know how they spread things around. We know how you can't depend on those guys. So to think that you can plug him in on a flex when you're probably going to plug him in on a bye week.
But you're talking
when
about
you don't
playing
have
Sony
a
Michel as
choice.
your number 2. You're not even talking flex. You're talking. You're ready to start Sony Michel as your number 2, and he's on the New England Patriots. When in the last 8 seasons has New England Patriots had a guy that you feel comfortable at starting at number 2 outside of LeGarrette Blount?
Regardless of the position that you plug them in, which of those players would you rather have because of upside?
where I draft them.
Doesn't matter which player. In a
Well,
vacuum.
obviously Michelle, because he's going.
Okay, so I would
That's
pay
not.
up.
You only
Yeah,
ask
no,
questions
but
you know the answers to.
I would pay up for that upside.
Okay.
Doesn't mean I have to
Well,
play
why
him
you
as
ask-
my number 2.
I get that.
If I can find something behind, so
Okay.
then maybe he's not my number 2. But I'm drafting upside because you've seen what you've seen with him, and if they find something that a lot of people think Sonny Michel is, who's to say that he doesn't get kind of that bigger role, more of a Deion Lewis role, which he could be, and very productive in that kind of role where he's getting catches and he's getting rushes. Like, I feel like we know what Burkhead is, and I feel like there's nowhere really to go up for Burkhead, in my opinion. Like, I feel like there's a part of the community that has been calling his name for a while now, but I just don't feel like there's anywhere for it to go.
Since he blew up in Cincinnati in week 16 and 17.
I never put
That end of the season blow up.
For me, I never put a lot of, not to be like whatever, but I never put a lot of stock into a white running back because majority of the white running back, I'm just being honest, they're only using the passing game. Like, what other running back that you know of is like, but you're talking,
Mike Allstott.
You're talking, 20 years ago. I'm talking Burkhead
Christian
going,
McCaffrey, baby.
Burkhead, honestly, going in the 133rd overall. He's going in the 8th round as my 4th running back or 3rd running back as like a flex spot if he does hit and something happens to Sonny Michel or he starts fumbling or he can't pick up the offense or whatever. The guy to own for me is James White and Burkhead because Michel's going so high. But at the end of the season, fantasy points wise, Sonny Michel should beat out these other two guys handedly, hopefully.
That's the point. I get your point of the value that you're getting, and
You're right. That's
at
it.
some point.
I'm not saying I'd rather have Burkhead than Sonny Michel. That's
Right,
not
but we
where
are-
they're going.
but
4 rounds apart.
We are talking these 3 guys, and out of these 3 guys, I would probably, versus the perceived value that I'm getting by getting them late, I would
Mhm.
rather pay up for some upside that I think is more
Okay.
likely to happen with Michel. That's
So
all.
Michel's the guy to own.
Let's go. Last team, Green Bay Packers.
Our favorites.
Oh boy.
Here we go. All right, you got Jamal Williams, you got Aaron Jones, and you got Ty Montgomery. After that, there's not much behind those 3 guys, but 3's plenty. 3's a crowd.
3's a party.
Yep.
I know how we all feel about this. I mean, we can do a 3-2-1 if you want.
No, we've done that 100 times already. Just to give you guys a clue, each one of us like a different guy. So, it is an enigma. This is definitely an enigma, and I think this is really going to come down to how training camp plays out. Because I don't feel like, even though they're saying, "Oh yeah, it's going to be a committee," like I don't feel like Green Bay uses a committee. I feel like when they have a guy that they want to be the starter, they use that guy mainly. So whoever they choose that to be, I think that's the guy that's going to get the most of the work. So however training camp shakes out and they move into preseason, I think that'll be really telling. I think any
Who
guy
will
can
that
probably
be?
take the job.
Who will that
Okay, all I did was a lot of last season, and I tried to figure out. It was hard to go back and look to see when this guy was hurt, this guy wasn't hurt, these 2 guys were healthy, but this
Right.
guy wasn't healthy. It was very hard. Like it took.
That's kind of what I would.
It was
look at.
ridiculous. It was very hard to like sort out what was going on. The one thing that I liked about the guy that I'm backing is Jamal Williams, who finished 33rd running back overall last season in a PPR league, in our league actually, is what he did after the bye. So this is after Aaron Rodgers got hurt, Brent Hundley was quarterback, so again, you can't put that much weight into it because it's going to be a completely different situation, but when he took over after week 9 and on, he produced like, to me, and at the worst case, an RB2. Like, he was for sure better than a flex start. And he went 11 points, 8, 13, 29, 23, 31, 3, 6, and 14. So he had one bad week that he had 3, and one bad week that he had 6. Everything else was double digits or right around double digits, and many of them were in the 20s and the 30s. So that's what I remember from him is he had the spot where...
The good times.
The last 7 weeks. I mean, it's not like a 2-game sample size. You have 7 weeks. Now, I looked at Aaron Jones. He missed 6 full games, but when other running backs were healthy, okay, whether it be Montgomery or it be Jamal Williams, if any one of those 2 guys were healthy, here's Aaron Jones's carries, okay, when the other guy was playing. 5 carries, 3, 1. 4 carries, 3, 3. So when he was healthy, and one of the other 2 guys was also healthy, those were his carries that he got.
That doesn't add up to 81. Like, I don't
But
understand.
like I said,
carries in a year.
Right, because a lot of the carries that he got, one of the other people were either out or two of them are out. This is the last.
It sounds like you're picking all the good stuff for Jamal Williams and all the not so good stuff for Aaron Jones.
No, I just said he missed 6 full games. So the games that he did play when another running back was there was only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there was 4 other games that he played that was just by himself. But I'm saying the 6 games that he played that another running back of the 2 were healthy. Those are he never got over 5 carries. I don't know how do you want to explain? Like that was the research that I did.
Okay.
Do you have something different? Clearly, you do or no?
No, I just think that's I'm interested into, for someone who always likes to go to yards per carry, how you never brought that up for those 2 guys.
Okay, and this is the reason why. It's because Montgomery averaged 3.8, Jamal Williams was 3.6. Aaron Jones was 5.5, which seems astronomical, right? Like 5.5, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm going to use your guys' argument against you. Like the more carries that you get, your average yards per carry goes down. I think that was you that said that, right, Travis? That if a guy gets 10 carries and he's averaging 8 yards per carry, but then he gets 100 carries, and now all of a sudden his average starts to go down a little bit. He was used as like a specialty guy because he only got playing time when the other 2 guys were hurt. And yes, he did great with them. He did great.
Did he ever start a game?
Who?
Aaron Jones.
Sure. How many?
How did he look when he started?
Amazing.
No, he did. He looked good.
All right, whose stats are
yards.
those? Who's this?
That's Aaron Jones.
Okay. All right. So did I lie? Look at week 9 on 5 carries, 3, 1, 4, 3, 3. Like he was healthy. He was playing. What's if he was that good? If he's averaging, don't laugh.
Sure
I'm being
he's
honest.
healthy?
I'm sure he's healthy.
Well,
Do you know
why
who the
was he in the
starter
game
was?
getting
Do you know?
carries then?
Because you start more than one guy. There's plenty of guys.
So he's
in this-
unhealthy, but they're giving him carries. I'm not trying to make a joke about it. I'm being dead serious. Like I didn't.
Jamal Williams
I didn't go
was
back
not
and look at
healthy
game tape.
and got a carry in a game.
Right.
Like Ty Montgomery was not healthy and got carries in a game. Yes, it happens. Like it definitely happens.
One or 2 games, not 6 straight games, Travis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're talking 6 straight games. Like the first 3 games he missed the season. Like he missed. He was hurt.
Who?
Okay. Aaron Jones.
So you think that Aaron Jones against New Orleans on October
He said he
22nd?
missed 6 total games, so
So
he's
you
got
think-
a carry in like all these games.
You
except
think
for,
he ran for 17 carries for 131 yards and a touchdown, and then the very next game against Detroit they decided to bench him because he did so bad? I don't understand.
No, he did extremely well. So they took
So
his
they
touches
said-
down by 12. Jay.
Right. That to me says something probably happened. He
Okay.
probably got hurt.
Okay. Well, again, this is all assumption, right? Because did you research enough to know that for sure that's what's happened? Because I didn't. Did you? Did
No.
you? Okay.
So
So
I thought you're the one that researched all the healthy.
I
and
just
not
told you.
healthy.
I just told you. Like 7 weeks before the bye, Jamal Williams. This is his Jamal Williams stats: 0.9, 2, 0.6, 2.3, 0.1, 0, 0. So if you want to say that he didn't miss those games, like that's fine. Like I said, after the bye week, which is week 9, week 10 and to 17, it was his job. Like he had a really bad first 7 weeks because there was 3 guys juggling from Montgomery getting hurt. Okay, Aaron Jones, your next man up. Okay, now Aaron Jones is hurt. Now Jamal Williams, you're hurt. Okay, now you're hurt. Okay, now put Aaron Jones in. Like it was a shuffle of all shuffles that first 7 weeks.
Yeah.
But when Jamal Williams ended up healthy that last 7 weeks of the season, he did great, I thought. So regardless if it's yards per carry or not yards per carry or whatever it is, he had the most targets out of any running back, the most receptions out of any of those running backs, the most touchdowns out of those running backs, the most yards out of those running backs. Any way you break it down, he had the bigger share of all of those.
How are they being drafted this year in drafts?
Wouldn't you like to know? Luckily, I did that research for you.
Yeah.
Okay, Aaron Jones, 7th round.
Why is he getting drafted the first?
Exactly.
It's a good question.
Number 33 overall for running backs in Dynasty, and number 80 overall in redraft. Ty Montgomery is actually going 2nd.
I think when you look at rushing wise, it's easy. They had the same amount of touchdowns rushing. They both had 4. The more dynamic guy, when you watch them, is Aaron Jones. Ty Montgomery, the first 4 weeks before he got hurt, looked good. He was in on like all the plays.
Mm-hmm.
He was not pulled on it at any point really. He got hurt. What he got here? He got hurt He got banged up week 3 because of a wrist at Cincinnati and that overtime win they had. Week 4, he got a broken rib against Chicago. Didn't play week 5, played a little bit. That's how it is. They got hurt, so they were playing a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and so nobody really got everything.
It was hard to tell when they were actually hurt, and unless they had a 0, that means they didn't play at all. It was some of them had literally 1 carry for -2 yards, and then like that was it. Like, but was that because he was hurt?
Jamal Williams came in right away and got hurt right away. So
Exactly.
Aaron Jones got in.
It was very hard to look into.
But when you watch when Aaron Jones got the start, and when you watch, I feel like Williams was more of a volume kind of guy, and he did well because he got volume. The more dynamic looking guy to me was Aaron Jones, who did a lot, almost as well rushing on almost half as many carries as Jamal Williams. So I feel, and he's more dynamic for the breaking big plays, getting out in space. He looks like the better running back to me. So that's why I like Aaron Jones a little bit better. I do like Ty Montgomery because I feel like he was the guy, and because of injury, he kind of got put on IR and this and that, and the other 2 guys got to have their run at the job. So I almost feel like he could come back and get that job. I do like Ty Montgomery. He looked good to me when he was playing those first 4 weeks or 5 weeks before he got the rib injuries.
I agree. Montgomery looked good. Like all 3 of them have had, in my opinion, they've had spots where they've looked very good. Now, if you're looking for the more dynamic player, it might be Aaron Jones. It might be Ty Montgomery. But for me, if I want consistency out of my running back, I don't know what it is, but for where Jamal Williams is going, which is last out of those 3 guys, he's going in the 10th round. He's going as running back number 40 overall. I don't know. I think that it's a steal there to get him there. And you know what's weird is that in redraft, I have Montgomery going in the 9th round, but in dynasty, he's actually going after Jamal Williams, obviously because of age or whatever that may be. But in both redraft and dynasty, Aaron Jones is going first, and he's going 2 full rounds ahead of either one of the other 2 guys. And for me, if Aaron Jones is going in the 7th round, he's going to be your RB2, maybe RB3. I don't feel comfortable, in my opinion, playing any one of these 3 guys every week. Having to rely on these 3 guys,
well,
I don't feel comfortable.
Look how close they go. This is like just redraft. This is these aren't mocks. These are actually drafts that have happened on my fantasy league where they're redrafts. And look how close they're all going. You got Aaron Jones going in the 3rd round, pick 309. And then you have Jamal Williams going at 403, which is a few spots behind him. And then a few spots behind that, Ty Montgomery at 409. So they're all going within 12 picks of each other. It's almost like it starts a run. Like one of those first Green Bay guys go, and then all of a sudden you start thinking about, oh, wait, let me get another Green Bay guy in there, and then Jamal Williams, and then a couple picks later, there's Ty Montgomery.
It's almost just who do you like,
right?
Really, because they're all kind of the same area.
Right.
But yeah, it's very risky, especially this early if you're doing a redraft, which would be crazy. Like I said, I think a lot more is going to clear up as we get closer to the season, and we can see some stuff that's happening. Who knows? One of you guys might go down in training camp. And make it
Let's
a whole
hope.
lot more
Make it
clear.
easier.
I also like the narrative that all 3 of these guys are playing on their rookie contract still, and Ty Montgomery's a free agent next year, so he's in his contract year. So of course he's going to want to play his best. So he's probably going to do the most diligent work to make sure he's on that field and showing what he's got. Because even if Green Bay doesn't want to extend him, he's playing for another contract.
Well, when you have teams like that, isn't it pretty common that they wanted to take that guy and run him into the ground before he leaves?
If he was an actual running back, but he's not, to me, he's not a legit running back. He's not a, he came into the league as a wide receiver. He, by default, had to be the running back after Lacey went down and Starks went down and so on and so forth, and he kind of got shoved into that running back role. But before that season, he was never talked about as, oh, Ty Montgomery's a running back. Like, it was just, he got thrust into that position. That's why, I don't know, I just have a hard time putting my chips in the Ty Montgomery basket because he's naturally a wide receiver. He came into the league as a wide receiver. And even if he's had background and running back, that's not what Green Bay drafted him for. That's not why they brought him in. It was to be a wide receiver. And now that Jordy Nelson isn't there, I think that it's between Geronimo Allison and Ty Montgomery. They could say, damn, we love Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones got to get more touches. Well, the only way that he's going to get more touches is if you take Ty Montgomery out of that backfield and use him in other ways. Use him in the slot. Use him in wide receiver screens. Use him in other ways than giving him touches. Because if this guy, Aaron Jones, is averaging 5.5 yards a carry and you feel confident in him, then to me, you drafted Jamal Williams. You drafted Aaron Jones to be your running backs. You have 2 of them. They're both young. They're both aggressive. Use them. Let Ty Montgomery be what he was supposed to be. Let him be a receiver. If you want to use him at running back in specialty plays, like that's fine. But why use a running back? Why use a wide receiver at the running back position when you don't have to? They used him there because they had to at that spot. But you don't have to do that anymore. And that's where I'm very leery
To
about
me-
using him as a
okay,
running back.
But to me, and to your point, Travis, I don't think they run him into the ground unless they don't want to extend him. And that's what, like
Matt
if
Forte
it's like-
did
if
with
it's like
Chicago.
yeah, or if it's like Le'Veon Bell in Pittsburgh, like they're not giving him extension and they're running him into the ground because they don't have any plans on extending him to a long-term contract. So if Green Bay is not looking to extend him, then I could see them running him into the ground and giving him more carries. I could see that.
I mean,
But if they're looking at like they want to bring him back, then I don't think they do that.
do you think that's how they're looking at him? Like for me, if
I don't know. I haven't heard any rumblings. You hear all this stuff
whether
about
you've heard
contracts.
anything or not, put yourself in the Green Bay shoes. Look at that player that Ty Montgomery's been.
Right.
He's had some injury history.
Mhm.
He's had some stuff going on. Like, to me, this isn't a guy that you're just clear cut, yeah, we need to re-sign this guy, we need to have
Yeah,
him.
I'm not
He's-
looking to re-sign him.
He's
on
a
Green
guy,
Bay.
yeah, that's how I feel too. I feel like you're not going to just pay this guy who's already had this injury kind of issues going on.
Right.
But, like, if he's healthy and he's going whatever, I don't think you really put him back at wide receiver. You've already committed to making this guy a running back. You don't make a guy a running back, turn around and move him back to wide receiver and do all this kind of stuff when he's already, for not being a running back, he picked up that position pretty well.
Yeah.
He looked pretty good in the beginning of last season. If he was to stay healthy, Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones probably don't really get to see the field very much.
Right.
So I don't see him as a receiver anymore. I see him as he could be a good pass catcher. Like, they didn't even really throw him the ball that much either. So I feel like they feel like he's
How many
running
weeks did he
back now.
play?
6.
6 weeks. He had 30 targets. So 5 targets a game, 23 catches, 173 yards, and a touchdown. It's kind of a lot. I mean, besides
And when
Jamal
you break it
Williams, he
down
was
game
second.
per game though. He didn't get like a ton of targets. He was in there like on every play. And those first 6 weeks, like, he didn't come out. He was in there pass blocking. He was on passing.
But he
downs.
also only had 2 rookie running backs behind him that were raw. I mean, they were what, a 3rd and a 5th round, I believe.
No, it was 4th and
6th
fifth.
then? 4th and 5th. Okay, so it's not like they drafted a Rashad Penny in the 1st round and like, okay, we're all like, this guy's waiting to take over the run. Like, they took a chance on 2, shots in the dark in the 4th and 5th round. It's like, okay, like, he kind of won that job by default, and he started week 1 by default of like, hey man, you know the playbook.
No, he already had the job. Like,
Because he was the only guy that was there because the other 2 guys got hurt. And then they let him go.
who are you talking about?
Lacey,
Lacey
James
and
Starks,
But
and
they committed to making. They didn't just say, "Hey, finish out the year and be a running back." They committed to making him a running back, and he came into the year as a running back. Like, they switched. He trained different. He did different things to help mold his body differently to be a running back and to learn that position. And even everything you see, if you follow anything on his Twitter or whatever, it's like he's a running back. It's not like a receiver mentality. It's a running back mentality.
like, there's a lot of targets that could be there for him. You have what, Jimmy Graham, Randall Cobb, like Ty Montgomery could be. He could get 100 targets on the
He
year.
could get used. I see. It's the coaching to me.
Yeah.
Is like, I don't know if they're capable of using like their players to the best of the ability of what they have, because they do have a lot of.
You don't like the head
weapons.
coach? He's
No,
had a lot of
not
years to
not
work this out.
Exactly, and I think he got a long runway because of the Super Bowl they won.
Yeah.
And he's got a quarterback that will win games.
Right.
Like, regardless of.
He's 34. He's got to make a decision quick.
Dude,
Aaron Rodgers.
Like, I get the sense that from some of the stuff that Aaron Rodgers isn't like super pumped about him being the coach and them not being able to kind of adapt and change with stuff. So, like,
I know he was pissed that they let the quarterbacks coach go because they didn't even talk to him about it. Like, Alex Van Pelt has been the quarterbacks coach there for years, and
Like, I'm
clearly
just saying, if you put Aaron Rodgers on the Cleveland Browns and you gave him Jarvis Landry and you gave him Josh Gordon, you gave him Corey Coleman, you gave him that backfield with Chubb and everyone in Njoku, whatever, like, damn.
I mean,
You know
it
what I
still
mean?
comes down to coaching, though, too, and how you use these guys. Like, you can't just go rogue as a quarterback. And then
Unless
you
it's called
still
a
game
lot of
plan.
audibles.
Yeah.
Every play.
But how many weeks does that really?
Yeah. If it works, then it keeps going. But if it doesn't work, you're
Hey, Dan
screwed.
Marino did it.
Yeah.
They let
How
Dan
many
Marino.
championships does he have?
No, but he made the playoffs every year.
0.
That wasn't his fault. Come on, they had no running.
They did have a undefeated season, though.
They had no running game there. No, Dan Marino didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't 86 or 84.
No.
No, 1972, and it was not Dan Marino.
I'm sorry, Dan
It was
Marino
Bob
got
Greasy.
drafted in 80.
84. 83 was his first year. 83 actually was.
Bob Greasy and who was the running back?
Larry Zonka?
Yeah.
Zoinks!
I think you're thinking the same coach, Don Shula.
Who's the? Yeah,
Probably.
he was around forever.
I don't know. I wasn't alive back then. You two were probably. So.
Who's the?
He's
He's
right
the
back
guy. Don't call me when you're on my street. Don't call me when you're in my town.
What?
Is it Mercury Morris?
Yeah, Mercury Morris. Call me when you're on my block, or whatever they said.
Don't know
Yeah,
what
because
that
they
is.
would cheer every time someone was undefeated. They would cheer for that team to lose, like the Bears did in '85.
He had that little interview.
Walter Payton? Are we talking McMahon? Are we talking Richard Dent?
Yeah, they were
No,
undefeated.
that's
and
more
you know
my era.
their only loss was Miami Dolphins.
Mm. All right, you guys ready to crack one?
Let's crack it.
Let's crack it.
Enough of the history lessons. Let's crack it. You know what I was thinking? Is it's on